Hello and welcome to The Awardist from Entertainment Weekly. I'm your host, Clark Collis. I'm a senior writer at Entertainment Weekly magazine. It is my great pleasure to say that I've been joined today by Rob Pаттинson, one of the male leads, well, one of the leads, essentially, of The Lighthouse, which is now available to watch in all good cinemas, I would say.
Only the good ones.
There are certainly moments of grimness in The Lighthouse. I laughed like a drain throughout, I have to say.
And the script was very funny to me. I was kind of, as one of the things that really appealed to me in the first place, it's sort of this kind of atonal tone, where you've got this kind of very serious sort of ethnographic documentary part, and then sort of slightly surrealistic terror part, and then this sort of weird slapstick humor at the same time. I was like, how is this all going to meld together? And it's one of my great joys to hear people laughing at it, because I really didn't know if people were going to or not.
It's essentially a two-hander. I don't want to spoil why it might not be a two-hander, but it's essentially a two-hander. Yourself and Willem Dafoe play a couple of lighthouse keepers in 1890 who at the start of the film are deposited on a pretty inhospitable-looking chunk of rock in the ocean somewhere, and then tend to the lighthouse. Although you do more tending than he does, I'd have to say. Could you give a flavour of what people can expect after that setup?
I tend it, and he bangs it. That's the summary. And I want to bang it. It's either a thing about someone being pushed by their boss into kind of madness, or whether they're both being pushed by the environment, or whether you can't really tell even whose head the story is taking place in. And there's something, even when we were doing it, it's kind of, it's funny because one of the major things I really liked about it is that both the characters are called, God, I keep giving stuff away, they're essentially both called Thomas. And I found it fascinating how such a sort of simple fact. It's not exactly like there's a shortage of people called Thomas. And when my character finds out that Willem's also called Thomas, it kind of blows his mind. Who is actually the protagonist in this? Whose viewpoint are we seeing this movie from? And I don't really know other movies recently which have really played with that as much as Lighthouse has. And
you hinted at this earlier, but Willem Dafoe's character clearly regards the Lighthouse as his, mistress to some degree, and I guess is worried about this sort of younger gentleman moving into his territory to some extent.
Yeah, there could be like a whole thing where it's just that my character has an overactive imagination, and Willem's just using kind of seafaring terminology, and I'm just taking it absolutely literally. It didn't actually mean literally it's his mistress. It's just a turn of phrase. I like the fact that how it plays on this kind of colloquial dialect, but it's sort of, it sounds so kind of floral, and like there's such a kind of ornateness to all these little turns of phrases, where you pick out a phrase and think, like, what does this actually mean? This is actually a really unusual, what's the word? Epistemology. Is that the right word?
Sure, I'm not going to argue with that. And what was it like? Yes, it's amazingly well written by, and intricately written and evocatively written by Robert Eggers and his brother. What was it like? You do a particular dialect in the film. What was it like doing that and then having to master the linguistics of it?
There's something really nice about when you first approach something, and when I first read it, I could not. I had an idea of the voice, and I just couldn't do it. It was just slipping all over the place. And there's something quite nice about, which removes the fear of just the performance. If you think, there's something which you actually have to learn sort of by rote a little bit, because it's quite rare when you actually have to do that in a movie. You've done 500 takes, and then you suddenly start coming up with stuff that you never would have thought of at the beginning. And the only reason I did it so many times because I just couldn't figure out how to do this accent.
Just looking to earn a living, just like any man. Starting new. On the run.
Willem Dafoe plays possibly the saltiest old sea dog in cinema history, and a big drinker right from the start of the film. Whereas your character is, at least at the start, not such a big drinker, but things take a bit of a turn. I don't think it's spoiling things to say that there's quite a lot of drunkenness going on. Is that like a particular... I mean, that is sort of notoriously hard to act drunk.
There's something about this very particular... Like, that you're not just getting drunk for the sake of it. It's like the type of person that you're like a witch. You're using it as a magic potion on yourself. It's very particular. And I kind of...
Well, that's how I always regard it.
Yeah, it's like... A Heineken or an Amstel Light? Like, who do I want to be today?
And as I said, the Lighthouse is directed by Robert Eggers, who directed The Witch. Is that how you sort of came across him, seeing The Witch?
Yeah, I love The Witch, and it's just one of those things where it's making no concessions to anybody. I mean, the fact that so many people the fact that it works really well just as a horror movie as well, it's really genuinely terrifying. And loads of people watched it, and loads of people kind of got it and accepted this pretty difficult movie as like a pretty straight up scary movie. I mean, it's kind of incredible how this insanely period correct dialect and like even the structure of it is quite, it's not pandering to anyone, and I really noticed it. And it's shot so beautifully. Performances are kind of across the board really great. Everyone's got very, very committed, and it just really stood out as something interesting. And yeah, I love people that it's to make a period piece not feel like a period piece at all. Like, you're not, as soon as you watch The Witch, it's not like, oh, they're not playing it up. It just seems very natural. It's funny. It does something. The filters and the lenses it's like when you look at those photos of people and working in mines and stuff. Like they look like ghosts. And I think there's something about the methodology we were shooting the whole thing. It just makes you look haunted. And we probably were a little bit haunted as well whilst doing it.
Well, we'll get into that in a second. But Robert told me that when he called you and said that you'd be appearing with Willem Dafoe, that you said, well, that's good, because he can scare me. Do you remember that?
He says a different thing about it every time.
He sometimes say, oh, that's good, I owe him $50.
He's like, yeah, you said, like, isn't he a bit short? I'm like, I did not say that like, at all. I kind of knew there'd be, I don't know, because it was kind of written in the script, like he was more lumbering. And so I'd kind of already imagined like a large, and also because he's kind of, you're being constantly like physically, felt like you were physically dominated the whole time. So I just always kind of had it in my head that it was just a kind of obelisk of a man, and I couldn't imagine who that really is. Mainly because I don't have much of imagination, and I'm also like I'm quite tall, so I'm like, Jesus, who's going to be like 6'5", and like, I mean that also kind of made me a bit worried about the movie, because it's like, this is going to be so dark if it's just brutality the whole time, and something about it's like too primal. And then when Willem wanted to do it, I was just thinking there's a glee which he has in almost every movie he does, and I was like, oh, this is like, I mean, I couldn't really imagine how he was going to do it, to be honest, but I knew there's a kind of mischievousness to every one of his performances, which I think, and it's made the movie like 100%. And
then what was it like in rehearsal, I guess, when the two of you, because it is just really the two of you, when the two of you started sort of feeling each other out? That's an appropriate question.
That's fun. I mean, it's a weird one because my part's so reactive at the beginning, and Willem's got all these like fun speeches right from the beginning, and so yeah, it was kind of it's a strange position to be in when you're kind of sitting in a hotel room somewhere, and you're like, and you're not doing anything really other than looking at the other guy. No. Like, and then you just suddenly really start questioning yourself, going like, God, I'm so fucking boring. Jesus. Like, and then when I'm doing these like symphony speeches, and he's going all over the place, and after a few days, I was like, oh my God, yeah, this is not, it's not going well for me. And also, yeah, with the kind of, and then after the first few days of rehearsing all his early stuff, I didn't want to get in there. I didn't want to start like competing in the rehearsal rooms, and yeah, I just kind of wanted to hold everything back. But yeah, on set, I mean, he's great to work with. I mean, it's kind of, and I think also you could sort of, there's a couple of scenes where you can see, you know, I guess I sort of played stuff at a little bit higher intensity than it was really written, and you can see this kind of a thing come open in Willem's eyes, where like he'll be like, "Oh, you want to do that?" And then he'll immediately be just slamming you back in your face, like every angle you wanted to take to kind of. I mean, I guess it's the thing. They're competing for dominance, and Willem has this great kind of. I don't know, like that sort of it's not really like bullying, but that kind of infuriating thing where you can never win against someone, and he's just great at doing that.
How long have we been on this rock? 5 weeks? 2 days? Help me to recollect.
Well, Robert was telling me that happily for him, he said they couldn't find a suitable lighthouse, so they had to build one. What was that like? Sort of.
He wanted to build a lighthouse from the beginning.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, he was like, that set was unbelievable. I mean, when you walk down, I mean, you would never if you were just walking along the coast in Nova Scotia, you would just thought it was a really picturesque, beautiful lighthouse. It's been there for 150 years. I mean, it's kind of. It was. I mean, the set design on it was absolutely unbelievable, and also the fact that even when we were doing the interior stuff, it was connected to the lighthouse, and so it was still freezing cold when we were doing all of the dinner stuff, and pretty much, I mean, like a lot of the interiors were just done on location as well, and so you could still hear the wind coming through, and the meticulous attention to detail is incredible.
You've now spent 7-8 years making films with sort of not blockbusters, but clearly making films with interesting directors, let us say. And you know, you were in the Harry Potter films, and then you were in the Twilight films. Then you make 2 movies with Cronenberg. You make The Rover with David Michôd, which is fantastic. I mean, did you wake up one day and be like, I wanna? I mean, because presumably you could have taken a more mainstream route over the past 6 or 7 years. Was it a case of waking up one day and think, I just want to do something different? Or?
No, I mean, I got Cosmopolis kind of by accident. I don't know, like, and it went to Cannes, and I was like, oh, this feels very much like the oeuvre I want to be in, and then each movie I was very careful about what you wanted to kind of, I guess, I mean, however lame it is, it was like brand consistency, like, and it seemed like when I did Cronenberg, I remember Cronenberg auditioned for The Rover, but I really, really wanted it, and like, I think I got David to like call David Michôd, and it's like, so, and then each little step, it kind of, it's people just trust you a little bit more, and then after a while, people kind of get the idea of what you're trying to do, and then people start coming to you. And it's still now. I mean, people are still. I mean, less so now, but for even up until a year or 2 ago, people were like, "Oh, I didn't think you'd be interested in this," and it's still from Twilight, because people are like, "Oh, I assume you want to do big stuff," and I'm like, I mean, I haven't done a big movie in like a long time, and but it's nice though when the momentum starts rolling and people kind of they kind of get to understand, and then also you kind of represent something a little bit different as well. It's very nice to be able to change opinions, I guess. But
also you've got Tenet with Christopher Nolan, and after that you move into playing Batman. Mm-hmm. And how did that? Because having spent, as I said, 6 or 7 years making I don't want to say movies on, I don't want to say fringe movies, but not blockbuster movies. How did you decide to put on the cowl?
There's something that always appealed to me about it. I feel like it sort of exists outside the realm of. I feel like they sort of Batman movies have always attracted really, really good directors and kind of really good actors playing it, and it's got a legacy and a lineage to it, which is. It's never seemed to me like it's been just a cash in for something. It's always seemed like there's you look at the Burton ones, and even like how the TV series was done. Like people still watch the TV series. I mean, it's like that is a classic TV show. Like, and it's like very, 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 very well done, and the performances are great. It's a very interesting kind of pop arty kind of TV show, and it's funny, and yeah, I just always feel like it's not like they just made a movie so they could sell toys. I'm sure there was a part of them that did it, but like the first Batman, Jack Nicholson's playing the bad guy. I mean, it's literally. I think. There's something very special about it, and also those Tim Burton Batmans when I was younger. I mean, like I was obsessed with them.
Well, I'm not going to press you about what Tenet is about, but talking about Dunkirk and Chris Nolan, is it true that you found out about Batman on the first day of shooting Tenet?
Yeah.
And what did you talk to Chris Nolan about it? Or?
I mean, it was like a big scene on the first day, so I was kind of like I was like all over the place, and so but yeah, I didn't even really. I mean, it was an unusual day, but I guess it was all sort of within Warner Brothers. So like, I mean, they all like I was keeping everything so secret. I mean, everybody seemed to know everything before I even knew it. So, yeah, it was great. It was fun. Seems like ages ago now.
Well, Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. My guest this week on the award list has been Rob Pаттtinson, whose film The Lighthouse is now delighting and possibly confounding audiences around America. And I mean that in the best possible way. Yeah. This has been the awardist from Entertainment Weekly. Thank you so much, Rob, for coming. Will you come back again next week?
Yeah. I'm just going to keep doing this.
Just every week, Rob. Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you for everybody for listening. This has been the awardist from Entertainment Weekly. My name is Clark Collis. See you soon.
Thank you.